All right, welcome back everybody to Altcoin Daily, where you subscribe for a video on crypto every day. My name's Austin, and in today's video, I want to answer the question, are insiders loading up on Bitcoin? We're going to look at three charts. We're going to look at the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, and we're going to look at a chart that we haven't checked out in a long time, the Crypto Fear and Greed Index. So hit the like button, subscribe to the video, and let's jump in. The first chart that I want to look at is something that it's very basic. It reads the sentiment of the market. Each day we analyze emotions and sentiments from different sources and crunch them into one simple number. As you can see, this is updated every 24 hours, and today, on a scale of fearful to greedy, the market sentiment's greedy. At least right now, there's a sentiment of greed in the market, meaning less people are probably selling and more people are probably buying. As you can see, last month, the market sentiment was extremely greedy, meaning that at this little run-up over the last 4 weeks, obviously, the market sentiment was extremely greedy. So using this, I want to check out where we are today and answer the question, are insiders secretly buying up Bitcoin? And I'm talking about insiders here. I'm not talking about common everyday retail investors. Because remember what smart investors do. Smart investors are buying when everybody else is fearful. Smart investors are selling when everybody else is greedy. Do as the smart money would do. When everybody else is FOMOing in, that's when you're cashing out. When everybody's fearful, that's the time you should get in. At least that's what most smart money thinks. If you have a different opinion, let me know what you think down in the comment section. But going off that, let's check out this fear over greed, crypto fear and greed over time. Here's the plot of our fear and greed index over time, where a value of 0, anything down here, means extreme fear, while a value of 100, anything up here, represents extreme greed. This index takes into account every single date in cryptocurrency for the last year and a half, starting from February of 2018, really when we started our journey down last year in 2018, all the way to today. So let me point out three specific points on this index. The first one I want to look at is this huge jump right here. Does it check out? What happened in this huge jump? Well, as you can see, it starts around April 2nd, April 3rd, April 4th, when the sentiment of the cryptocurrency market that was very fearful, according to this index. It was a very fearful time in cryptocurrency. That was around April 3rd. And over the course of April 3rd, for the next 30 days, the sentiment of the cryptocurrency market went from extremely fearful to pretty greedy. The sentiment was more and more people were more excited to buy. So from April 3rd to about May 5th, let's check out where the price of Bitcoin, where it was at that time. And as you can see on this chart, we went from about $6,700, a $6,700 Bitcoin, all the way over the course of the next 30 days to as high as $9,700. So we gained over 40% as the sentiment turned from fearful to greedy. You can see how greedy the sentiment of the market got. We went up over $3,000, over 40%, and that's one example of how this fear sentiment index, how this changes the market, or just one consideration out of many, many considerations. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Austin, this sentiment chart, this sentiment index, it probably reacts after the price has already moved. This probably shows the effect, not the cause. Meaning that, hey, probably after this made their move, this index chart probably reacted to what the price was doing. And I thought that same thing. So let's dig deeper. Let's go to another historical point of last year in Bitcoin, in cryptocurrency. Around this point right here, November 12th-ish, when for months, the price had stayed the same at 6K, nobody really knowing what the price was doing. Were we going to go back up? Were we going to go back down? And really, let's look at what was the sentiment of the market a month before, sometime in October, leading up to November, leading up to mid-November. How did that sentiment change? Well, let's take it back. Starting from around, mid-October, as you can see, very fearful around the beginning of this time, meaning people were still unsure just how low the market would go. So that makes sense. People were very fearful. Then over the next month and a half, as that price stayed stagnant, as We really didn't move past 6,200, 6,300. What did the market sentiment do? It went from extremely fearful to a little more greedy. People were a little more sure of themselves, meaning as the price kind of leveled off, we thought this was probably bottom, people got more greedy and the sentiment got more greedy. So what happened? What do smart investors do? What do insiders do? The people that really can have effect on this market, the insiders that are buying or selling Bitcoin, what do? Well, one of the common everyday sheeple, when they're buying, when they're excited about the market, when there's an element of greed, of excitement, sentiment-wise in the market, they're selling. Insiders are selling. That's what the smart money's doing, at least. And of course, that's what happened. We went down almost 50%. So let's look at today. Are insiders today secretly buying Bitcoin? And honestly, it's a hard question to kind of react because we're all just guessing here. We're all just trying to use these charts and glean whatever information we can. So the main thing I want to point out to you today, where the sentiment is if we just look at the basic chart, it's still greedy. It was extremely greedy last month as that price was riding, but now it's dropping down a little. Just regular greedy. Just regular greed. And what I want to point out to you is really just how erratic this sentiment shift has been, really specifically the last 3-4 days alone. Now last night, over the weekend, the price of Bitcoin, we dropped down about another $100, and we've been dropping down all the way from about, 8,700, now 7,800. And that sentiment shift went to extremely fearful right away. People were expecting almost. They were ready for that correction, which we've talked about a lot on this channel. I am ready for a correction. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Just means I'm mentally preparing for one. And it seems like the sentiment shift was near the same. But what happened? The price dropped down a little. We relieved the market a little bit, a little relief on the market. And this sentiment shot right back up. So what am I saying? Am I saying that this proves that insiders are buying Bitcoin? No, I don't know. All I'm saying is as soon as the market got extremely fearful, what does Warren Buffett say? He says be greedy when others are fearful. Just something to think about. But let's keep going. Let's keep pressing this issue. Are insiders buying up Bitcoin right now? Well, one of the main sources we can go to is Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, which really helps us answer not are insiders secretly buying Bitcoin. These are for insiders that are overtly buying Bitcoin. Because what is the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust? Well, until an ETF is approved, there's only one way to buy a Bitcoin derivative through a traditional brokerage account, and that's Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, or GBTC. And this is a custody service. This is a way for institutions, insiders to be able to buy Bitcoin without actually having to hold it, without actually having to worry about private keys or addresses. You're just buying into the trust. GBTC is the only stock offered on Nasdaq.com or any United States public stock exchange that holds Bitcoin as its primary asset. It is also one of the only choices for investing in Bitcoin without buying Bitcoin directly. And because they offer this custody service to you, to investors, because of this, they get to offer a high premium. So really how high this premium is kind of telling on which insiders are buying Bitcoin overtly, openly. And what's the GBTC price today? Keep in mind, the markets are closed right now. They'll open back up tomorrow. And while the markets are closed, we went down about another 100 or 2%, $150. So this will probably change when these markets open up tomorrow. But before the weekend, while the regular Bitcoin price on any exchange was around $8,000, insiders were paying $10,300. They were paying a premium on that Bitcoin. But the point is, let's come back to this. Now that we know that the Bitcoin price dropped over the weekend and this has been closed, this is going to be just another indicator on what these insiders are doing. Let's remember to come back to this. We're going to check on that. So just know in a future video, sometime this week, we're going to check back on that price and see. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. We drop a video every single day. You do not want to miss one. Let me go to our last chart. And I think this is one of the most telling indicators on what insiders are doing. both insiders of retail investor status, you, me, and bigger, more institutional ones. Bitcoin's 2000, and this article just came out, by the way. Bitcoin's 2019 price run driven by real transaction growth, analysis shows. So a lot of people thought, especially this sort of out of nowhere growth that we saw in the last month and a half, some people, would state a disbelief almost on, is this real? Can we sustain this? And according to some new analysis, this was real transaction growth driven by fundamentals. Let's check this out. An experimental metric used to gauge the quantity and quality of activity on Bitcoin's network clocked a 28-week high last Saturday, signaling the cryptocurrency's latest price rally may be more fundamentally driven than many expect. And it's this graph right here. And this compares the transactions on the network to the active addresses on the network. It goes over the quantity as well as the quality of the transactions. How this works is this divides Bitcoin's 24-hour adjusted volume by the number of active addresses on the network to identify how much each active address spends in transactions per day. So this averages out the transactions per active address and the number of active addresses. So how does this work? Well, if the TAR is high, then it means each user, each active address is transacting high nominal values. In other words, the network quantity, how much is being spent, i.e. transaction volume, is high. Meaning that after it's averaged out, if the average active address is showing that there's high nominal values being transacted, that would show that the network has a lot of quantity over quality. Maybe there's a lot more bigger whales making a lot of those transactions, maybe manipulating, pushing up the market, as opposed to quality. And of course, quality is how many users are spending the funds, meaning active addresses. Is it a good mix? Is it the average person as well as the whale pushing this price up more organically? And according to this chart, this growth is more fundamental. It's more real, at least making parallels to other times historically. Since April of 2013, the oldest data points available via Coinmetrics, this has proven to be the case as it has been made clear Bitcoin's price only enters sustainable trends when it's accompanied by a TAR trend in the same direction. So historically, they've only been sustainable when Bitcoin TAR, and TAR stands for transaction amount to active addresses ratio, when TAR trends in the same direction. As it is shown above, right here, Bitcoin was only able to escape its bear market back in 2015. It was only able to get out of the bear market once its network activity picked up the pace, made evident by the TAR finally failing to set new lows along with Bitcoin's price and beginning to trend upward, highlighted in the red square right here. This, in a sense, added fundamental validation to Bitcoin's price growth at that time, which often falls victim to pure speculation. So back in 2015, Bitcoin price was only ever able to get out of the bear market after the fundamentals, after the TAR values, the ratio between active addresses and the amount being transacted, after they trended up together, that's when we got out of that bear market. And of course, you know what happens. Well, interestingly, Bitcoin's TAR is once again, just like it was in this red square, it is once again, in present time, once again clearly rising along with its price in a similar fashion to that seen at the end of the previous bear market, potentially suggesting Bitcoin's latest price growth may be sustainable as long as network activity continues to rise. So this is the real chart that I wanted to bring to you today, because when we're answering the question, are insiders secretly buying up Bitcoin, we could look at sentiment, one of many, many indicators we can use. We can look at what insiders are doing overtly. It's going to be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. But really, to answer the question, what are insiders doing, we can look at real fundamental, real transaction growth. And these are some pretty bullish statistics. Keep in mind, corrections in price should be expected. I still expect a correction. We just went down about $150. We could easily go down again tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I'm expecting that we drop a little closer to 6,000 than 8,000. But we easily couldn't. We could easily keep going up. I'm prepared for both options. But corrections should be expected. But according to this model, bulls should only be concerned when TAR loses significant altitude. Something to keep in mind. If you have an opinion, if you have a comment, let me know down below in the comment section. I'll be talking to everybody down there. That's the video for today. My name's Austin. Leave a like, leave a subscribe. I'll be talking to you down below in the comments. And like always, I'll see you tomorrow.